Hey guys, welcome to the Live Well, brought to you by Digital Sportsman, where we get together with our community and talk fishing. The show's fixing to start, we're getting everything ready. But in the meantime, we want to tell you about our fine partners that not only make this show possible, but are companies that we absolutely love and stand behind. Groove Fishing, changing the norm of tackle storage. Sonar Pros, specializing in high-end installations across all electronic brands. Go where the pros go. Lipsticker Fishing, specializing in putting clients on giant Lake Lanier bass. Bill Payne's Guide Service. Fish with a legend on Lake Allatoona, seasonal smallmouth trips, or even get your sonar dialed in. Brooks Anderson Fishing. Guide trips and educating today's anglers on Lake Lanier. Big League Charters. Fish with a pro on Tellico, Fort Loudon, Watts Bar, and Chickamauga. Money Saver Lure Retriever. Designed to break your lure free from almost any snag. Fishers of Hope, benefit fishing tournaments to help people in need. Serve IT, industry-leading IT services for your business. Change the way you manage IT. Kerner Tire, Jasper, Georgia's most trusted family-owned tire center. Atlanta Safe House, the trusted source for safes and gun safes in Tennessee, Georgia, Kentucky, and Alabama. And of course, Digital Sportsman, a new way to discover and book unforgettable outdoor experiences with local trusted guides. Go to fngo.com to get direct links to all our fine partners. Get ready and let's talk fishing. All right, it worked, guys. I actually was able to do the video right there. I'm very happy. Welcome to the Live Well this Tuesday night here at Fish North, Georgia. So glad you guys could join us. We got an absolutely fantastic episode. We're flying into the holiday season. I'm glad that I'm back. Missed last week being out doing a little traveling. I want to say thank you to Tony and Clint and the guys that held the ship up. And they did an absolutely fantastic job last week. And I appreciate all of you guys that tuned in and supported them. And what's going on, everybody, over there in the comment section? We got a great show tonight. We got one of my personal favorite guests, one of the good guys in the sport, Mr. Will Harkins from up there around Blairsville, Georgia. And yes, Stephen, it is a short turnaround. Just got through doing the Deck Talk podcast, but you guys know me. You give me a 5-hour energy and a can of Copenhagen, and I can talk all night. So I am wired up, ready to go. We got Tony in the house too. Dave Aldridge is going to join us. And and what's up, all of you guys? Appreciate it. So, Will has been on, and one of my favorite things is the short that I cut when Will won a tournament on the NPFL with a Trilene Big Game. And that's still to this date one of the biggest shorts, TikToks, or whatever I've ever put out. And, Will, it's always a pleasure anytime you can join us. And so thank you. You're looking very festive with the Christmas tree in the background. How you doing tonight?
Good. Hanging in there, getting ready for the Christmas season coming around. So we're staying busy and trying to get rigged up for next year. So it's been an everyday process, but we're getting there.
Yeah, it is. Now, listen, guys, he probably didn't expect this, but we had a little conversation before the show. He's a married man now. And one of the best things that I've heard happened before this show. What is your wife doing right now, Will?
She is currently outside cleaning a deer that she shot a couple hours ago. So I got it strung up before I came on the show, and she's out there butchering away.
Listen, guys, if you guys are single out there, find you a woman that can quarter up a deer. All right. That you have done well in your life when you can find a woman that not only can go kill the animal, but also quarter it up and all that kind of stuff. And I think that's absolutely awesome. Of course, I met her, I think, before y'all got married. She came to the shop that one time and all that. You did well for yourself, young man. You did very well for yourself.
She's a keeper for sure.
She is, and all that. So guys, listen, here's what we're going to talk about tonight. We're going to talk about Will's professional plans in fishing for a little bit, and then we will get to the juice tonight. We're going to pick his brain on how to catch these bass when it's really, really cold outside. Now, I know it's been cold the last few days. We're going to have a little bit of warm up, but we all know for the next few months, those water temps are going to be down. We can talk ditch fishing. We can talk timber fishing, whatever we can squeeze from him tonight, and whatever you can offer us there, Will, to help our guys catch some more fish. We definitely will appreciate that. So let's go ahead and let's talk about your plans for 2026. Now, you have fished the NPFL for what, the last 3 years?
Yes, sir. Yeah, that's correct.
3 years. And so what are your plans going forward in 2026?
So for 2026, I hopped over to the MLF Pro Circuit. So super excited about new opportunities. Love the schedule over there. The payouts, you can't beat them. So it was just a change. I was ready for it. The NPFLs went a different direction with electronics and stuff like that. So switched over to MLF. I said nothing but good things to say about the NPFL. I enjoyed my time over there. It was just time for a change. So we're going to do that as well as the new team series, the dual threat fishing. So super excited about both of those coming up.
So who are you going to fish the dual threats with?
Mitchell Grimsley. So we've grown up fishing together, fished college together. And so we've traveled around a bunch. So fishing with him.
So I know you kind of mentioned the NPFL is going one direction. And is that the main reason as to why you were going to the MLF, or is it, like you said, just time for a change? I mean, what is the real reason that you kind of considered this to begin with?
I mean, a lot of options. At the end of the day, it boils down to economics. For us, fishing's not cheap. The schedule I was more familiar with the schedule. The payouts were a little better, a lot less travel time for me. And we get half the day with electronics. So for me, it was a win-win for it all. So it was just, ready for a change, something new, trying to keep things fresh. You never want to stay in a place and kind of feel like you got in a rut and can't go anywhere. So it was just time for a change. So I'm excited for it.
Absolutely. And we're excited for you. Give us a little bit of, some of the lakes you're going to be fishing. What's on your schedule?
Start off at Harris Chain down in Florida, and then go over to Santee Cooper. And then we've got Douglas on there, Lake Eufaula, Oklahoma on there, Champlain on there. And then I think the championship is back down at Kissimmee.
Okay. All right, Craftmaster, let me pull up this comment right here. So good luck, Will. You'll do great at the MLF. Looking forward to seeing the dual threat deal. What is the coverage on the dual threat?
So year one, there's very little coverage as far as live goes. They'll take clips from each day and kind of shoot them out there at the end of the day. But as far as live goes, I don't believe there's any plans as of yet to do live on the water.
Okay. How many events do you have on the dual threat?
That'll be 6 plus a championship as well.
And that championship's got a pretty good payout. Am I correct on that?
It does. It's 250,000 plus a Bitcoin. So it kind of throws a loop there. So, I mean, right now Bitcoin's at 130,000. So, I mean, you're looking at 380,000 for a championship of 20 guys. So it is definitely attractive.
So where is that championship going to be? I know Cranking and Yanking I've missed your ass. You old grumpy fella. Anytime we see Scope, we get that face, but I have missed talking to you. But where's the championship on the dual threat going to be?
They will announce it 30 days prior to the event, and it's off limits, so no one will know.
Do you like that? Do you like not knowing?
Not really. I'd rather know, but yeah, I'm if we make it 380 G's, I'm there wherever it is.
Listen, and that Bitcoin, you never know where that Bitcoin could go to. I know it's volatile, but it can go back down to 80. It could jump up to $200,000 before you know it, like that. But my question was, how does two guys split one Bitcoin? How do you do that?
That's a great question. I'm going to have to split it 3 ways between my wife and him. So I won't see much of it. But so I don't know. Well, that's a good problem to have if we get one.
I guess it's like boats back in the days when you want a boat, you just sold it that and split it, kind of thing.
Yeah. Oh, listen, Dave, you and Tony, I mean, have you ever had the opportunity to fish for a Bitcoin?
No. I've never, no.
I don't know what a Bitcoin is, Danny.
Oh, you lie like a dog. You know what Bitcoin, huh?
I have no idea.
You lie like a dog right there.
I've got a question for Will.
Yeah,
today on the lunch break, somebody brought up the payout schedule for the MLF deal. What does it look like as far as how far down, splits, things like that compared with the NPFL? And was that a major factor as well?
Yeah, for sure. So right now the field, they've got 150 guys committed for all 6 events. So that was a big threshold for them. So at that point, they're paying 50 places. 50th check is 10 grand. So the minimum you make if you cash a check is 10 grand. So that was attractive. Like NPFL, I don't know what theirs is exactly. I know they're still looking for a couple anglers and stuff like that. But like last year, last check was like 6,500 bucks. So I mean, that's a $3,500 change for just a 50th place. So definitely, as I don't know what MPFL is this year, but just basing on last year's numbers and what I do know of this year, it was a little more attractive, that route.
Got you.
Well, I can see that. Let's pull up old Ron Swinford right here. The traveling part would drive me nuts, I think. I worry about everything when I travel until I get there. Pulling a boat and then finding a place to stay with a boat would be a hassle. We've often talked, anytime you guys fish professionally like that, not a lot of people understand the expense, the travel, the time away from home. You know, we've talked about it with you before. I don't think people really realize, and well, Ron does, but you know, the amount of time and effort it goes in just to get to the tournament itself.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy.
No, it's mind blowing. And when you sit down and do the X's and O's of it, it can be frustrating in a hurry because I mean, expenses add up, time crunches, getting places booked, schedule changes. I mean, there's a million different things. I mean, we've had events canceled by hurricanes, by flooding. So I mean, some of that you don't get refunds for. So I mean, it's definitely more into it than you would ever realize. But that's where a great support system comes in and kind of helps ease that over. Just take it one step at a time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Will, if you had to guess, Will, what does it cost you in the MPFL? We'll just go from that since that's where your experience is at. What does it cost you per year to fish the MPFL? Like as far as travel expenses and stuff like that. I'm worried about the tournament itself, but what's it cost?
So baseline entry fees are $33,000 plus. I would say about 18,000 by the time you factor in fuel and travel and housing and practices and all that. So I mean, you're looking at 50 to 55,000 just for those 6 or 7 events.
Right.
Boy, that's crazy too.
That's a lot.
That is a lot of money. Now I want to give a little shout out, get a little love here to Bottom Line Outdoors right here, because he's from North Texas and he caught 96 inches with a Huddleston 68 special. Now, again, you kayakers need to tell me what 96 inches equates into weight. I know it's pretty good. I know when you get close to 100, that's supposed to be a really good bag. That's almost a Tony Column bag right there.
Get out of here.
Did you hear, Will, do you know what him and his partner caught at the Toys for Tots? Did you see that? You see the weights in that thing? Mm-mm. What'd you have, Tony? Go ahead and shout it out to everybody.
We had 2203 for third place and a 609 largemouth for big fish.
Trash fish.
Trash. Like 2203, and he got third. Yeah. You know, and that's what I tell everybody about Lanier. It's crazy like that. Let me get to a couple more comments, and then we're going to jump into the fishing side. Silverpunk, this is something, too, a lot of people don't think about. I'd also be worrying about my stuff getting stolen from the hotel parking lot. Now, normally, you roomed with Robleski and Richard Key last year. So you guys would always split an Airbnb, right? You didn't stay at any hotels, did you?
No, sir. I try to avoid hotels at all costs. If it's just me traveling somewhere, I'm sleeping in the truck somewhere, booking a little campground. So I do that probably over half the time anyway. Just throw a sleeping bag in the back of the truck, and then all your stuff's there in one place. You've got plug-in power, all that. I avoid hotels just because of what I've seen guys get stolen and all that. I'd rather not risk it, because a lot of these places, you've never been there. You don't know what to expect. And so they're just waiting on a new shiny boat to come rolling through town to see what they can get.
Oh,
especially
yeah.
with a wrap on it.
Yep.
Oh, yeah. Listen, I mean, it is a billboard. It is attracting. It attracts eyeballs. Now, on TikTok, Aiden Moore Fishing's got a question for you. Mr. Will, what is your biggest tip for the Skeeter boat my dad bought me so I can fish in high school? I guess he's just got a new boat. Any tips that you can give him as far as getting it ready for high school fishing?
Yes. And 2 things. Take it to Sonar Pros. They're awesome with it. They'll run through all your electronics, all your wiring. Trent over there is great. He will get you tournament ready in a heartbeat. So that's rule number 1, because I'm not a super electronic guy. And so he's got all the ins and outs there. Second thing is get signed up for all the contingencies you can with Skeeter. Yamaha's got them too in school. We get paid a lot of times more from that than the tournament itself. So get those contingencies because they really add up.
Yeah, I think in the Barnes tournament, Seabolt won it, him and Cooper, and I think there's a Skeeter contingency, and even Scott Barnes, little thing that I think they won. Now cranking and yanking, I'm gonna go ahead and let him get his, anti sonar out of the way here real quick. So total of $65,000 for a year if you include the scope. But now listen, cranking and yanking. Now you won what was that like you won 2 years ago? What was it? You were cranking.
Logan Martin.
Logan Martin. Now listen, cranking and yanking. He threw a crankbait. You didn't use your forward facing hardly anything in that because you were throwing crankbait shallow the entire time on your trilene big game, and he took home the win on that cranking and yanking. So this young man right here can do it both ways. All right, both ways. So you got to give him at least a little love out there for that. And I always love to let cranking. He's a good dude. He's just from Louisiana. They're a little different down there, like that. So anyway, let's see. Okay, this is a good question. We'll jump into the fishing. First of all, if we don't talk about the pro stuff anymore, first of all, listen, we're all rooting for you. We're friends with you, and anything you do, we want to see you succeed. So I hope you go over there and just absolutely smash them.
Oh, I appreciate it, guys.
Smash them like that because you're a good dude, and you deserve the success that you get. But let's jump into the fishing because that's what guys are here for, all right? Tyler Shelnut, where have my Nico rig fish gone? Now, I will say this, in the Toys for Tots, unless you were in Tony's boat or Emil's boat or Parker's boat, a lot of us were throwing shaky heads, Nico, stuff like that. We caught fish. We didn't catch any size. I talked to some guys that fished some tournaments this past weekend. Even the Barnes weights were down. They only had one 20-pound bag. So a lot of guys are talking about how they're not seeing fish in the ditches or they're pinned to the bottom. Your Nico style fish, they're not catching them or not catching the big ones. So right now, where are those fish at? And if you're throwing a Nico rig, is there something that the guys can do to better their odds?
Yeah, so the shallow fish there that you're targeting with Nicos and stuff like that, they're still there. They haven't gone anywhere. It's just gotten a little harder to see them. They suck so close to the bottom. Like you'll catch some of these big female spots and their bellies will be red from the mud. They're just sitting there chilling. Especially on the sunny days, they're up there warming. It's definitely gotten harder. Earlier in the winter, I guess they kind of elevate off the bottom just a little bit. So that's why you see so many guys catching them with a Nico, because it's easier to see them with electronics and stuff like that. And then the other hand, a lot of those fish have moved deep, in the ditches and out in the timber and really just roaming anywhere right now. And it gets tough too, because they see so many baits. There's so many guys out there now. So they're smart. They know to hug to the bottom. They know to, they move quick. So, I mean, those fish are still there. It's just catching them on a day where you've got an active area. And then B, just kind of slowing down a little bit and not burning through your area so quick, just kind of slowing down and knowing you're gonna have less bites, but those same quality fish are there.
Yeah. So when you pull into like a pocket or something like that, we talked about this on the lunch break today because, I've heard Ryan say it and somebody was describing it. If you pull into a pocket and you see a massive amount of bait, a lot of guys won't fish that, or I've heard them say there's too much bait there. We got to compete. And they'll actually go to a pocket with a little bit less bait. Do you do that?
For sure. Yeah. And that goes to any of the lakes around here. We fished a tournament on Chateau this last week, and that held true. There's an area with a ton of bait, and the fish were so dialed in on that little bitty thread fin. There's nothing we could do to match it. And so we just left it. There was hundreds of fish there, and it doesn't matter. So you definitely want to find a place, and Lanier's renowned for this, but the active area of the day. Sometimes you go into 6 Mile and there's bait everywhere and there's fish everywhere. You can't get a bite. You go down to Young Deer or across to wherever, and all of a sudden the fish, everyone eats. So it's just kind of finding that hot spot for the day, not worrying as much about the big masses of bait, just kind of finding where those active fish are.
I got you. And so, Ashley, how are you doing on TikTok there? Ashley Kloss 445. Appreciate you joining us tonight. Dave, you're hearing him talk about bait and all this. We're talking about Lanier specifically.
Yes,
I know you like Gunnersville, and even Tony, you on Weedawee. over there, with Dowie and all that. Do you find something similar? Like you'll pull into a place, you'll see a massive amount of bait, and you just know you're basically wasting your time. Does that happen on other lakes, or is that a Highland Reservoir kind of problem?
It happens at Gunnersville too. The last time I was out, I found a lot of bait, but the problem that day was the fish weren't there. If they're running through bait, they seem to be a little easier to catch because it's a little dirtier, and you can get them to coming through there. We also depends on what bait they are. They're eating threadfin or herring over here. It's either that or they're eating threadfin, which are a little bit bigger, and they're eating the gizzard shad. So if you can find them on gizzards, you can put a 4-inch swim bait on it matches up pretty well, and you can get them. It's just finding active fish with bait, but it's a little easier to camouflage that bait in a little more not as clear water, if you will.
Right, dirty water. So Mason Roach, what's going on TikTok? Tony, that question's to you now on Wedowee.
So when I was at Wedowee last week, the bait would be like in the mouth. Let's just say the mouth of a small pocket off the main lake. The fish wouldn't be anywhere near the bait. They would be within the area, like off to the edge, like let's say a drop off or a ledge edge or something like that. They'd be near them, but they wouldn't be in the bait. I wouldn't ever see them in the bait. So I just had to stop looking I'd have to look for bait in areas and then have to look off to the sides. And I'll be honest with you, it was the same way at Lanier. We weren't fishing bait balls or anything like that. We weren't seeing bait really piled up in areas. They just happened to be near bait. And bait would be in that area, but they wouldn't be on the bait balls or stuff like that. So they were, staying away from the bait a little more. And we weren't seeing a lot of it.
Yeah, and you would think, guys, as close as Tony and I am, that he would tell me what they caught their fish on the Toys for Tots, but he is sandbagging me and will not tell me. I thought we were friends, but
Man.
No, listen,
I've got a 22-minute video that I have only shared with the person that I was with, and I can't share any of the footage. There's no way to mask anything.
I understand. Hey, listen, that's not, if you want to be a gatekeeper, you be a gatekeeper. I'm just going to tease you like that. Now, I get it. I totally get it. I would tell you because I would never catch 22 pounds. So there you go. It's easy for me at 13.
I want to tell everybody so bad, but I'm like, dude, I would probably be hunted down by some of his friends if I did that.
We'll get him. We'll get it out of him at ICAST next year. We'll go to one of them after parties, and Tony's gonna be sitting there. You know what? I caught him on at the Toys for Tots. I'm like, do tell, Tony. Do tell. Will, how about this situation? Christmas Eve, it's going to be 71 degrees. After 5 days in the 60s, the fish should be up, active, and eating. Listen, it's been cold as all get-go the last few days, and I bet up in Blairsville, even colder. Water temps are probably, low 50s?
Yeah,
maybe like that.
Upper 40s, yeah.
Upper 40s, low 50s, but we're getting ready to go on a little mini heat wave here going into Christmas. What effect will this have on the fish going forward through Christmas as long as we're going to warm up like this?
You can see some fish go shallower for sure, hang under some docks and all. Personally, I like it. I feel like they bite better when it's cold. So I prefer when it's 30 degrees, when the wind's blowing and stuff like that. It's kind of nasty weather. That's when like you go with your dirty water is masking your bait in a way. So they're a little more active. When it kind of slicks off, gets sunny, gets warm this time of year, it can actually be kind of tough. A lot of these fish will just hug tight to the bottom. And so I'm not a huge fan of warm trends in the wintertime for spotted bass. If we were talking about largemouth, completely different topic. But for the spots, I like it cold and nasty. But it's definitely easier with the warming trend. Go to the bank, throw a crankbait, and you will catch your numbers of fish. It's just sometimes that size can be a little more difficult.
Yeah, I was telling everybody that I've always told everybody Lanier, spotted bass lakes, really cold weather, they bite all winter. Mm-hmm. And if you look at the tournament results, to me, your biggest bags of the year start about December, late November, December, and then will roll pretty much on average till you get up through the spawn and everything. Now, Tyler says the Nico fish were shallow Saturday, caught a 4.76 largemouth in an overhang on a deep ledge. And since we didn't come nowhere close to winning it, I will tell you guys this, like when Tim and I were fishing, we didn't go very far from Laurel Park, maybe 1.5 miles, 2 miles. We stayed up north. Every fish we caught pretty much was on a steep, rocky ledge on the river channel that had wood coming off of it. So if you had a blowdown laying across that, we got tons of bites in that. But we were trying to figure it out because I knew the guys down south were probably doing something totally different. So could that have been more of a river thing, just them relating to that wood because we were closer to the channel? Maybe something like over there in the river at Chick or something like that, or not Chick, Gunnersville and all that.
Yeah, for sure. Different parts of Lanier fish differently. You go up any of the rivers, Chestatee especially. These fish will be on the bank nearly year round. You go down south, different story. So those river fish tend to like those 45-degree rock banks. Colder weather, they'll hang on to the wood. You can crank around it. You can throw a jig around it. It's an awesome way to catch numbers, and you'll catch some more largemouth up there than you typically will down south. But it's Lanier's so big of a lake, and there's so many different areas and things you can do. Different sections fish different ways, like you said.
Yeah, 100%. Now, Patricia wants to know this question here. Would you accept a berth into the BPT, different format?
Yeah, absolutely. I have nothing against it. I'm fishing the day, so if I make it, great. If I not, that's not really my end goal. But if I make it, yeah, absolutely, I would absolutely do it.
Absolutely. And Colin, how you doing there on TikTok too? How about this from Clayton? Been throwing the rock crawler, hooked a biggie, lost the fish after a long fight. Bent the hooks. What brand is a good hook brand to use? And I'll say this: listen, rock crawler comes with Gamakatsus. So if you bent some Gamakatsus, you had a big one. I mean, it takes a lot to bend a Gamakatsu on a rock crawler. If you had to change them, what would you change them to?
Man, I've got to stick with the Gamakatsu. I like the G Finesse treble hooks. You ask 100 people that you're going to get 100 different answers. That's just what I prefer. They're lighter hooks, finessier hooks, a little sharper. So my concern is getting them hooked up in the cold water. Their mouths kind of harden a little bit too. So you have like a little wider, little beefier treble. Sometimes you don't get those hookups nearly as well. But yeah, if you bend them out, I would definitely lighten up your drag because they come with some good hooks already though.
Yeah. All right. What's up, Farmer? Farmer's on TikTok. Our old buddy Ken. We're gonna have to do a little test here, guys.
Saw that.
Yeah. If all four guys take off their hats, I bet Will has the most hair. Go ahead, Dave. I don't know. Yeah, Will does. Me and Dave, you and I are really pulling down, the hair thing right there. Oh, Ken out there. Let's see. Can you use a net in the MLF pro circuit?
That I should probably read the rules.
Yeah, hell, I don't know. Dave saying no.
I don't remember seeing them. One group could, but I don't remember if it was pro circuit or not. I know the Toyota can. They may be able to.
I think if I had to answer yes or no, I think they can use nets. We've gotten so used to not using them with MPFL and all. So I don't ever keep one in the boat hardly anyway, but I believe MLF can.
I like that. Will's like, I might ought to read the rules. Yeah, maybe so. Steven says, but the glare from all that skin might white out the cameras. I know, I get that. Listen, you guys. Bass, let's see, what is this right here? Bass Chaser 22. Upsizing my minnow worked on with Dowie last Saturday. He went a little bit bigger.
Yep.
And so with that comment, Will, let me ask you this. What would the situation be to where you would actually upsize? Because I know you like throwing the minnow a little bit. How would you upsize it?
Yeah, I'm going to rephrase something you just said real quick. I'm not a big minnow fan.
Okay.
I would rather fish shallow-ish, I guess. I'm not, just because so many people use it now, I'm not a big minnow fan.
Gotcha.
I'll have one on the deck, of course, but I don't catch as many fish on it, I guess, as you would think. But yes, upsizing baits can definitely help. Downsizing baits, upsizing baits, you just got to match the hatch. Like up here on Chatoog, the bait right now is like 1 inch to 2 inches long, super small bait. So you got to match the hatch. You go to different lakes, if they're keyed in on 4-inch, 5-inch stuff, you've got to upsize. And a lot of times those bigger baits, bigger style minnows, your 5, 6, 7 inchers, you're sacrificing quantity of bites, but your qualities a lot of times is really good.
Okay, there you go. So Tyler Shelnut says 2 Mile Lanier was chock full of about 8.376 billion threadfin and about 102,489 herring. The stripes and the bass were not playing along with the minnow or the underspin. That situation, is that one of those where you just get up and leave?
Absolutely. Yeah. If they're not playing around, especially around threadfin, just because it's so much, at least up here where I'm at, so much smaller. I like the fish that are keyed in on herring a lot better. They'll eat a little bigger bait, little easier to catch, in my opinion. But yeah, if there's just chock fulls of baits in areas, I don't like it. I'm probably getting out of there.
Okay. All right, Tony.
Yep.
Rob said you told him everything Saturday.
He's trying to start some stuff.
Steven Sturgeon says, can't you take a round split ring, put it on a ball head jig, and make your own roller minnow? Any of you guys ever tried that? Now, Will, I remember, and I actually talked about this. I talked about this on the Deck Talk podcast about guys that I know that like to, mess with baits and kind of. I remember you talking about that your very first time on our show. You like to kind of, tinker with your baits and all that. Have you ever just made your own roller minnow, or you just go ahead and buy one?
No, that's the easiest way because I hate a loop knot. I will not tie a loop knot. So that was an easy fix. There was a split ring, but yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. How's Bayless in December? For those that don't know, that is on Lake Lanier.
Your quantities can be there at times. It's a pressured area. I don't fish it much. If you see me above like the Three Sisters Island, something's wrong. So I don't fish it much personally.
Okay. And now here's where we're going to squeeze some real good juice out of you. What's your go-to thing on the south end? Like if you're going to south end of Lanier, maybe not your juice, but give us some of that sugar-free juice. That's what Tim likes to call it.
Oh, I'm not there enough, so I'll give y'all everything I got. I don't care. In the mornings, I always start off shallow. I'll crank, I'll Nico, stuff like that. Just kind of, as always on any lake, you want to get on the off-the-wall spots. You don't just want to go down stuff, sit on a point, hit the main ditches everyone in the world hits. So just look for stuff that you would never believe there's a fish on and go fish it. That's a key to every single lake we fish, is getting off the beaten path. So mornings, I like fishing shallow. On Lanier, you really have to sample it all during a day. Go fish some timber. One of my favorite baits is a little ice jig. A lot of people use a spoon. I use an ice jig. Same concept, just something they don't see as much. So get down there. A lot of those fish are going to be on the bottom. They're a little harder to catch. Sample some timber, sample some 100-foot water, and then go back to shallow about noon or so. But Lanier is not a one-trick pony anymore. It depends on the day, so you've got to kind of sample it all.
Okay. This tells you how far behind I am in the comments. They're still talking about the hooks. A lot of guys are talking about the hooks. Might have been a big catfish, Ron said, that been out those hooks on the rock crawler. Cranking and Yanking likes Mustad, War Eagle the best, Gamakatsu hooks, one of the best out there. Ron says, I like Owner trebles, but Gamma and the Mustad KVD hooks are great too, and I use all of them. Let's see. Here's a good one. Hartwell. Since the water is so cold, would a blade bait be a good choice on Lake Hartwell? And I will admit, I threw a blade bait in the Toys for Tots tournament. Just tried it in the ditch. I've never been a big blade bait guy. Didn't get bit on it at all. No confidence in it whatsoever. So, Will, would that be a good choice? And then I want Tony and Dave. Do you guys throw blade baits at all? So, Will, I'll let you start.
Yeah. I'm not a huge fan of blade baits for spotted bass. I've just never really done a whole lot with them. Largemouth, I like them a little better, especially some bigger ones. But, yeah, for spotted bass, I don't throw it much. If you want something on the bottom out there, Slow rolling a 1/2 ounce, 3/4 ounce Kitech is super easy, super effective. The ice jig, stuff like that, I prefer over the blade bait.
Okay, Dave, Tony.
I don't throw a blade bait.
Okay, I don't know. We don't talk about them very often.
Yeah, I mean, I
Dave?
just don't have a lot of experience with it.
Yeah. What about you, Dave?
I've thrown some. I've actually thrown on Lanier some. And I've caught a few fish on it. On Gunnersville, I basically I take instead of a blade bait, I take a 5/8 ounce trap, a 3/4 ounce trap, and fish it just like you would a blade bait on the bottom.
I was gonna say that's what I do with a trap. Yep.
And just kind of worm it through there.
Okay.
Works really good.
Makes sense. What's up, Warren Barnes? Now, Jeremiah, I thought this would play more in the Toys for Tots. Jerk bait and the jig bite on Lanier for me recently. I did catch a jerk bait fish that are Toys for Tots, but I did not have a lot of success with it. Most of the fish we caught, shaky head, Nico, like that. But what's your thoughts on a jerk bait this time of year, Will?
I like it. It's a great numbers bait. I don't catch the quality on it anymore. It's kind of like a spinner bait and stuff like that. Stuff that used to be really good just got overused. The fish become conditioned to it. So you can watch them on the screen with the jerk bait, and you'll have bukus of them follow it. So it's just one of those things. I like a crankbait over a jerk bait just because it's a quicker reaction bite for them if they're going to bite. Not a huge jerk bait fan. Come spring, I'll throw it a little more, especially up super shallow. I'm talking like a foot or two of water. Jerk bait can be really, really good. But this time of year, I don't throw it much just because it gets used so much.
Yeah, and I know we talk about Lanier a lot because that is, of course, the lake that drives the ship around here. But Chateau, same thing up there?
Yeah, same thing up here. I mean, these two lakes fish identical. We don't quite have the quality consistently. We'll have some 20, 22-pound bags of spots weighed in, but not a week in, week out like a Lanier.
Okay. And Farmer, yes, for some reason they ended the live on TikTok, so I don't know if I said anything. I don't think I said anything that should have made the TikTok.
It's weird. I think Alex has got booted last night as well because my wife was watching and all of a sudden it was gone. So I don't know what's going on with TikTok.
It might be the restream. I'll have to check into that. But I don't think I said anything wrong this time.
No, you didn't.
But you never know with that algorithm. Now, Will, your buddy Robleski says, don't lie. You love using the minnow. You taught me everything about a minnow. Now, is that true, Will?
I've showed them a little bit. We fished up here a bunch back when it was kind of the new thing. So yes, I will always have a minnow on deck, but that's another thing. They're becoming so conditioned to. It's a good bait, but there's better baits too. So you just kind of got to stay ahead of that curve a little bit. You can still win tournaments day in and day out on a minnow. Nothing against it. I'll have it on deck. But I just prefer other stuff better.
Okay, and since you said that, Purrs says he's been catching a lot on the jig lately, on Lanier too. How much does the jig play in your wintertime fishing? And then I want all you guys, because again, I got the Highland Reservoir, I got Wedowee, I got Gunnersville and all that. How much does the jig play on your guys' lakes? Will, I'll let you go first.
I hate a jig. Not a fan of a jig.
Listen, I thought in the back of my head that you had said that before.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that was a response I was going to get.
Yeah, won some money on jig, but I hate it. If I wanted to go through a jig, I'd tie a bunch of grass on my line and go drag it around. I mean, it's stupid. But they do bite it. So I mean, you can't dish it too much. It's one of those baits that's really good for low quantity of numbers, but good quality. Yeah. Especially on the south end. You go Lanier, Hartwell, Chateau, same story. Jig gets bigger bites, but I don't like it.
Okay. All right. Wedowee, Tony.
If you're not throwing a jig, you're wrong. I'm just saying.
Okay. All right.
If you're not throwing a jig on Wedowee, you're wrong. I mean, I threw it a long time before I really threw the shaky head out there, and I throw the shaky head quite a bit. But a jig, a green pumpkin with purple in it, I'll put a black and blue trailer on the end of it. It looks like a brim, whatever. It just gets bit.
Is that year round or a big
Year
thing in the
round.
wintertime? Year round.
It year round, but wintertime is just as much. Rocky Points, man. I mean, I'm telling you, it's a good one. I keep it tight on all year.
Okay, Dave, you throwing a green pumpkin purple jig? Because that's my favorite colors too. What are you throwing over in Gunnersville if you're throwing a jig at all?
Oh yeah, we throwing a jig. Green pumpkin. I'm a green pumpkin brown. If I throw anything else, it's green pumpkin purple. Coming from Louisiana. Yeah, it's on my deck year round. It doesn't matter if it's freezing cold or if it's 100 degrees. Hard spots. You had to be a little more strategic because of the grass or where you throw it and that kind of stuff. But I mean, over there you can fish a jig any kind of. I mean, you run shout and throw a swim jig or do whatever. But it's on my deck 24/7.
Somebody on the lunch break today was talking about throwing a jig with the almost like a Ned style trailer, not your typical twin tail or your craw.
Yeah.
And do any of you guys, Will, I'm sure doesn't do it because he doesn't like throwing jigs, but maybe you do. Are you guys going big profile or are you going small? Because I think that was what it was. He was talking about dead sticking a micro style jig, a Kitech style, maybe a little Picassos for all you Alatoona guys over there. But he was talking about putting just like a Ned style trailer on, no appendages whatsoever. Are you guys doing any of that during the wintertime right now?
My jig, I keep a small profile, trim the skirt up right past the hook, and then I take a Z-Crawl Junior. I trim it down to where the hook slot starts on a Z-Crawl Junior to make it a little smaller. But I'm still throwing a 3/8 ounce jig. I cannot stand the small, what's that one they got, the little small jig they make that's we've talked about it on here. Do what now?
Kitech.
No, it's not the Kitech one. Bitsy Bug. I tried throwing a
Bitsy
Bitsy
Bug,
Bug, and it drives me batty. So I keep a 3/8 on there and go with it.
What about you, Dave? You throwing anything with no appendages right now?
No. I have two. I have one for bottom, not structure jig. I'm throwing one of two. I either throw a 5/8 that's big with almost a full size sweet beaver on it, or I got a little custom one that I get. A friend told me about this in the comments that I order out of Missouri, and it's a 1/2 ounce, but it's the size of a Bitsy Bug. It's a little small jig. It works really, really well.
All right, Will, I got to ask you. I know you hate jigs, but if you are throwing a jig this time of year, what kind of trailer are you putting on it?
Just the OG, the little double twin tail stuff. You cannot beat it, in my opinion. If they're going to bite a jig, I think they're going to bite that. So I don't get too complicated with jig trailers.
I got you. Sometimes we overthink it a little bit. I agree with you on that. Now, you mentioned a spoon, but you were talking more of an ice jig. So what rod are you throwing that ice jig on?
Yeah, so the ice jig, I throw it on a 610 medium light. Sometimes I'll go a 7-1 medium. Just a finessier one. When you bump up, when you're talking about, I'll throw a flutter spoon a bunch too. So I mean that's different. That's heavier rods, longer rods. But wintertime, I throw it strictly pretty much on a spinning rod. Whether that's a little 1/4 ounce or 3 ounce little War Eagle spoon, or the ice jig. 7-1 medium is probably the sweet spot.
Okay. And if you're going to be throwing a jig and wrap, what rod would you throw it on? Do any of you guys throw a jig and wrap at all?
No.
Okay. So Will, do you even throw one?
Yeah. So same thing, same rod. I'll throw probably 75% of the baits I tie on a 7-1 medium rod. Just kind of try and keep it consistent.
Gotcha. So Ron says he was trying to ditch Digger Saturday, but no bites that he knew of, was trying something different, but no fish. I know there's some fish in the ditches right now, but Will, in your opinion, I mean, we're just getting the first wave, right? They're not really a bunch of spots all over the lake setting up in the ditches heavy right now, are they? Or even on Chattooga, same thing.
Yeah, there's not, you can't just run all of the ditches and see fish in every one of them. There are certainly ditches that are really good right now on Lanier and Chattooga. It's just kind of rotating those hot spots is what we call them. So you've got ditches that have less fish, but they're better quality. You've got ditches with more fish, but less quality. So it's just kind of figuring out which ones are right for the day. So getting, you may have to run 8, 10, 12 of them before you find one with fish in it. But there's certainly fish in ditches on Lanier right now.
Now, is it true when it comes to ditch fish that if you're in a ditch and you're catching 2, 2.5, maybe 3s, and you caught 1, 2, maybe 3 of those, that's pretty much what you're going to get? Do they run in packs of equal size when it comes to ditches, or can you just get anything?
I mean, you're always going to have those random big ones. It doesn't matter where you're at. But as a rule of thumb, if you're catching, if we've caught 8 or 10 or 12 2-pounders, probably going to leave the area, just depending what you're seeing and everything. You may go try shallower, you may try deeper before you leave, just see if the quality changes at all. But yeah, typically they tend to run together. But like I said, always you can randomly catch a big one out of any group.
Okay, if you were pulling up on a ditch, how would you approach it? Do you start right in the middle? Do you start, let's say, do you start in the back and then work your way back out towards the main water? Do you start in the middle? Do you start off on the sides? What's your process of breaking down a ditch and how you approach it?
So really, I start kind of at a depth range. I'm starting at anywhere from 70 to 80 feet deep, and then I'll go shallower from there. Typically, the timber edge is like 45 to 55 feet. So that's kind of usually your sweet spot, is when you hit the edge of that timber. But I like to start deeper. Sometimes they're floating out there above the timber. Then I'll go all the way up into the 8 or 10 feet of water. That's why I prefer them, because sometimes that's where your bigger ones are, just sunning. But yeah, so anywhere from 80 to 8 feet is all I can tell you. Just keep your trolling motor on high and go looking.
But you start deep and work shallow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how, is that a time of day thing? Like, let's say you get to a ditch at 8, you might approach it differently than you get to a ditch at, say, 12. Or do you work it the same way?
Yeah, typically I don't like fishing ditches really early. I'd rather fish the bank early, just because low light conditions. Some of your I don't care what the temperature is. Some of your bigger ones will be shallow in low light conditions. But yeah, so typically at 9, 9:30, 10 o'clock is when I'll really start hammering the ditches and making that rotation. And then like it's just a numbers game. Run them until you find them. And sometimes, let's say that I'm fishing 6 Mile, I'll fish 3 or 4 ditches in 6 Mile, and then run down a young cane or young deer. Sorry, fish 3 or 4 or 5 ditches in there, and then run to the next. So you really got to sample all the areas.
How much time do you give a ditch before you decide to move?
Not long. If I'm approaching it, I've got either a 3/4 ounce or a 1 ounce Kitech in my hand, and just slinging that thing as far as I can and dragging it on the bottom while I'm looking for more active fish. You'll catch a ton of bonus fish doing that, fish that's on the bottom that you won't see. But if you spend more than 10 or 15 minutes in a ditch and haven't seen what you're wanting to see, that's probably too long.
Okay, so Dave, Guntersville, a little bit different, more of a river system. Does the ditch bite even play over there? It's got to be. So I know it's got to be different than here on Lanier. So how would they set up on something like Guntersville, like they're setting up on Lanier, Chattooga, and all these lakes now?
Well, right now they're in the mouth of the creek, so you just drive down the lake and see where all the boats are. Because until last year, nobody realized they floated 4 foot under the surface, and that's where they call them big bags. So right now, you just look for boats. A lot of it is more of a drain. It'll be like a high spot and the place I caught a bunch of, I don't know how many fish on the summer. It's a high spot, and then it's another high spot on this side. And it's just kind of like a ditch or drain. It just kind of feeds up in there. Last time I was there, those fish the bait was in the bottom of the drain. Early in the morning, low light, bait were there, fish were there. As we got into the day, then they started moving out towards the edge of the river, mouths of the creeks, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so when you say a drain, you're talking more of like an 8-10 foot kind of difference than like on Lanier where it goes down 40-50 foot.
We got them 20 foot. But I mean, a lot of the stuff I fish is deepest is 12.
Right.
You can get out there and find them in 14 or 15 on a flat with stumps, and you can catch them on stumps. And I mean, you can get out there in some of those places and catch them in 25, but I usually try to stick in that 8 to 12 foot or so. Seems like there's enough there to catch.
Okay, Tony, same thing for you on Wadowee, because I know you said this past weekend or whenever the last time you fished, they were at the mouths of the creeks.
Right.
So, same question to you. Do you approach the ditch the same way that Will does? Because I know on this show we talked to a lot of guys, and this is why I asked Will deep to shallow, because a lot of guys that we've talked to go shallow to deep.
Yeah.
So his answer was a little bit different than what I'm used to hearing. What about on Wadowee?
I'll say always. Most of the time, I start on the outside first. I start in the deep water and work my way in if I'm going to fish a ditch. And when he was talking about that, it brought something to my memory. Don't be scared to fish the sides of the ditch.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's focusing on that center. Those fish, me and Rob noticed it. We would not see the fish until we run up on that little ledge right there on the edge, and all of a sudden they just blew up off the bottom. And that was in Tennessee. And I noticed it at Lanier Friday when I went back. They were not sitting all the way down the ditch. What I saw, they were sitting more towards that edge right there where that transition starts. And that's another. You still work it the same, but don't be afraid to fish up a little higher on that ditch side, whatever you want to call it there. Yeah, I start out deep.
Okay, good point right there. And guys, I know, listen, we're way behind on the comments, but I want to make sure I get all these questions. Like John's got one right here right now. He doesn't have forward-facing sonar, but he sees fish under him all the time on 2D. What's a good spoon to start learning with, because he doesn't know much about them? And just to give you some context, John, he's a kayaker. He likes to fish a lot of rivers. I know he gets in some lakes from time to time, but he's primarily a river guy. How would you do that?
So, I mean, the most basic you can get is a War Eagle, like 1/4 ounce to 1/2 ounce. Anywhere from that 2-inch to 3-inch size is just the easiest way to fish underneath you. Once again, you kind of got to match the hatch and match your depth. If you're fishing, 15 and less, you want to opt for that lighter spoon. Fishing deeper, heavier. So just kind of tailor it to what you fish. But yeah, a spoon is a great option wherever you're at, though.
Okay.
I keep 3 kind of spoon. I keep a white, a gold, and a silver in the War Eagle, because if I'm not mistaken, I think the War Eagle comes with the swivel already on it. You can go get cotton cordels, but you got to add a swivel. I don't fish one without a swivel on there. It just seems like I get a little bit better when I'm fighting the fish in. I start off with that.
All right, well, let me ask you that. What were the 3 colors, Tony?
White, silver, and gold.
So 3 colors. When are you using which color?
Gold is probably a little bit dirtier water, I think. White and silver is just varies on whether it be overcast or whatever, or maybe the fish just don't bite one versus the other. I have a lot more success with the white and silver, it seems like. I was just talking to a guy about that the other day. And then obviously I do the feathered treble above the hook as well. 12, 18 inches up, like Bill Payne talked about.
The old Bill Payne secret. Now, here's our buddy from Pickwick. Jeff says, I knew I liked Will. I hate a jig. I know they work, but it's a last resort for me. And I think, like Ron, same thing right here. I'm with Will. I'll catch a few on a jig, and I like it for around docks in the spring at Weiss, but my success rate is just not there on it. Learning the swim jig as well. Let's see. Let's pull up this. That's so far, dog from Oklahoma. Danny, don't know what's going on, but like to have never found the podcast. Like YouTube is shadow banning you. Maybe I'm just getting too popular for them. I don't know, like that. They want to hold us down. We'll have to check into it because they cut us off on TikTok too. So appreciate you letting me know that. Okay, here's a good question, because everybody knows I can't do this, but Will, do you sleep good before the tournament?
Depends where it is and how it's going. So like take, for example, Hartwell this year, we had the championship over there for MPFL. Did not sleep good because I had much higher expectations for that. But then you go to lakes like Lake Eufaula, Oklahoma, where you're going to go and drag your butt off and maybe get 3 to 5 bites a day. I sleep really well on those. So it just kind of depends on the situation.
Okay. And my buddy Tony Watkins with Fishers of Hope. All of us at Fishers of Hope wish you the best upcoming year, Will. Great young man, looking forward to all that God has in store for you. 100%. I agree with you on that. He's a pretty decent young man there. We kind of like him here. How about this? And for our dogs fussing at all you guys, y'all better hit the like button. That might be why YouTube shadow banning us, because none of you guys are hitting the like button. So hit that like button and get the algorithm to recognize the show again. Now, Will, give me some tips for receiving a flutter spoon, please. And I think he meant retrieving, but retrieving, whichever one you want to call it. Give him some tips.
So it depends all where you're fishing it. If I'm fishing a big flutter spoon, if you're talking about a small spoon, let me know. Typically that's underneath the boat. But a flutter spoon, if I fish it a lot around like marinas and all, so I'll kind of pitch it in a slip, let it float, 5, 10, 15 seconds. Having sonar, forward facing sonar is a lot easier with that because you can tell where those fish are positioned and all that. But typically you want to make those 10 to 15 foot pitches out in front of you, kind of let it fall away from you. Now, if you're out on a ledge or something, let's say you're on Guntersville or Chick or wherever, I'm making long casts with that flutter spoon, letting it hit the bottom and then ripping it off the bottom, letting it hit the bottom and ripping. But now, like, let's say we use it a bunch on Chateau during the summertime for fish chasing bait balls. It's a good way to kind of get those bigger fish out of a group to bite too. And that's once again where forward facing sonar helps in that regard, is knowing what depth. But I'm still putting that spoon 60 to 80 feet out in front of the boat typically.
Okay, there you go. Tracy Coker's dropping some juice right here. 1/2 ounce bobblehead with a green pumpkin rage call trailer is great for those deeper brush pile fish, close to a quick drop off as far as ledges and off rocky points. So there you go. Now, Brett Matthews here. Hope to see Will at some No Wake Nation events. Will, you don't want to fish with them. That's the most drama-filled club out there right now. I mean, listen, nothing but problems. Stay away from those guys. No, I'm kidding. Good group of guys and a pretty good trail like that. Maybe you can jump in a few of those and take some money from them like that. Farmers throwing a tail spin or a blade bait. And again, I'm being very serious. Good guys. I tease Matthews right there just because I can. Bitsy Bug, Cranking and Yankee said, is the only jig I've ever caught a fish on with a Zoom June Bug speed crawl trailer. And Greg says, keep the ice jig on the quiet. That bite is good. So I get that. Let me see if I can catch up on some of these questions. See what Tony says there. How are you catching those deep timber fish? All I do is stay hung. And that is a problem. First of all, you got to have confidence to throw whatever you're throwing down in that timber. Number one. But give them some tips for staying unhung in the timber.
Yeah. So the easiest answer to that question is throw a shaky head down there. Get it.
Those they can't get hung.
Exactly. Those fish will bite a shaky head a lot of times too out of that timber. So that's an easy way to save a lot of baits. Number two, if you're throwing a minnow style bait or a Kitech or something, buy a money saver retriever. I don't know how many times I've used one of those things like 45 times and saved a lot of money with it. So have a good lure retriever. Number two. Then number three, you can kind of try and Texas rig your minnows some. I assume that's what a lot of you guys fish in the timber. Kind of just explore rigging options with it. That's about the only, you're fishing timber, you're going to get hung up. That's just part of it. But those are the three things you can use to kind of mitigate that risk though a little.
Yeah. I mean, if you're fishing timber, it's kind of like buying a Jeep and then complaining about gas mileage. You know what you're getting, when you buy a Jeep. So, if you're going to fish timber, you're going to get hung.
Yep.
Dave, how would you hook I know you like Kitechs and stuff, and if you're fishing timber, I know you fish Lanier a lot too. Do you do anything special as far as the rigging, or you just know, hey, there's always that possibility?
It is. If you got forward, you're obviously looking at it. You can kind of keep it above the timber, keep it right above their heads. The other thing I've done since I went to Guntersville is we throw underspins. They're big boy underspins, as we like to call them. It'll have a 4/0 hook, and you're throwing on a big rod, but they're Texas rigged. They have a spring, a hitchhiker, screw it on. A lot of times I'll check if they're over the top of timber and they're close to the top, you can pull them out with even a little bit bigger swim bait. I'll use one of those. It's not ideal for hookup ratio on these spots. Just to be fair, they tend to hook up better on an open hook. But if it's one of those, it's just frustrating, and you got to get it down there and clip those limbs. That those underspins with a belly weighted hook, I've caught some fish on when I had to do that.
Okay, Tony, same thing for you. I know with Dowie, does it have timber?
Bunch of timber.
Okay, so what are you doing then?
Basically what they're saying, I do also use a jerk bait, which is kind of crazy, but I'll get the stunner. It's a slow sink. Well, it says slow sink, but it sinks pretty quick for me. I'll count it down. I'll sit there and watch it and count it down to the top of the timber and then bring it over top of the timber because it's only going to run so far anyway. So if I'm popping it, it's coming back up over the timber. Other than that, spinner baits, you can work them down the tops of timber. If you get a 3/4 ounce, let it sink down there and just bring it right over the top of the timber, especially if you know the depth of it. And basically like what they said.
So you're just not going in the timber. You're trying to stay above it.
Well, yeah, I'll go in the timber. It depends. I mean, if I want to see the fish come out of the timber tops, if I'm looking at the tops, but like Will said, he hit the money with a shaky head. That's a dang good one. I'll let it go right down the side of the trunk on a standing timber and just let it go all the way down. And I just did a video the other day, and that's what they were in on a bluff wall. It was in timber. I just let it go down the side of it and watched them just all chase it down.
But is it the same kind of timber on Lanier where they just went and cut it off, or you just got trees here, trees there?
No, we've got it. So the Tallapoosa River and that river system it's a deep water impoundment. So it's got the still full standing timber trees. You get the mouths of them. They start where they started cutting the tops of it out, but you still have a timber line right there. But you'll have timber. I mean, this time of the year, you're driving your boat and you're looking down, and you're seeing the tops of trees. I mean, it's
really. You ever fished it, Will? You ever fished with Dowie?
I haven't. Nope, never been on it.
You need to get with Tony. Tony will take you out there and let you
We'll
see it.
Absolutely.
Warren Barnes, what's going on, buddy? Have you tried Nico rigging your flukes yet? I'm just starting to use it, and I'm having a lot of success. Will you Nico rig your flukes? And any of you guys can answer that.
I have Nico rigged about every soft plastic you can think of. I kind of stick with the tried and true Hitworm Magnums, Senkos. I'm not a big fluke fan on a Nico. I know guys do, and I could be totally in the left field on this, but I don't like it too much. No.
All right. What about you other two? Y'all Nico rigging any flukes or anything?
No,
I don't Nico rig that much, like true Nico rig. So
right, you chicken rig.
It doesn't work on a chicken rig.
You ever throw the chicken rig, Will?
I haven't. I've heard of it and seen it, but I've never tied one on.
I'm sold on that thing because I mean it's basically a weedless Nico, but boy,
It works good in the timber.
That's what I was getting ready to say. You showed it to me, for Gunnersville with the grass and everything, but I feel like I could throw it in the middle of anything. I mean, occasionally you'll get hung up, but I mean, you got to try really hard to get that thing hung up if you got it rigged right. Here's a good question from War Eagle the Best. Many pros mentioned dead water. Do we have a lot of dead water at Lanier or Chateaugue, or can bass be anywhere? Are there any dead zones on our, Highland reservoirs?
The answer to that question is yes and yes. Bass can be anywhere randomly, but rule of thumb, we do have a lot of dead water. I don't care what lake you're at in the country, there is dead water. That can be just because of the day. That can be because of bait. That can be a million different reasons why that water is dead. But it's a daily thing too. So, it may be dead one day and hopping the next. So, but yes, as a rule of thumb, the more you can stay moving, typically the better.
Okay. And
so my partner in the Toys for Tots tournament, we fished an area. He said there's days where they're sitting here and there's days where they're 200 yards across the lake there's no reason. And we actually checked across from where we caught them at in the morning, and there was no fish that we could get to bite over there. They were all on the side we were on. It was just weird. He said, you just have to check those areas, especially like Lanier where they're potentially chasing those fast moving bait fish. I mean, they could be anywhere.
Yeah. Well, given that, Will, when you fish a typical tournament, Lanier, Chateaugue, or anywhere, How many spots you hit in a given day?
So I mean, these herring lakes around here, I'll fish anywhere 50 to 100 places a day. Um, Typically, you like to run about 40 spots the first half of the day, and then kind of settle into your best rotation of 4 or 5 spots. And sometimes in a given day, it's just one spot. But that's where running so many spots until you find one that's hot or find a good rotation. That's why it's so important to hit so many places.
Yeah, absolutely. Silver Punk wants to know, what about a weighted wacky rig in the timber? Listen. I'm different. I throw the weightless over it, eat a sandwich, let it work its way down. If they're interested, they'll come out of that timber before that thing ever gets down to them. Will, do you throw a weighted wacky at all?
Not, I mean, a Nico to me is the same thing. I don't typically fish it deeper than like 18 foot. So typically I don't mess with it in the timber too much.
I've got a question for timber, and I've got an answer for my own question as well, but I just see what Will thinks, what you guys think. Are you looking for specific types of timber when you fish timber?
I look for the size of the timber. If you have one tree that's taller than the rest, or one tree that's beefier than the rest, that's kind of what I keep waypoints of. And not all the times, bass won't all the times be on that one tree, but more times than not, there is sometimes a specific tree or area that's a little different.
The reason I say that, I went with Underwood, and he said, if you can find an oak tree, and you can tell the difference between an oak and a pine, there's not many of them. Usually your oak trees are going to be a better spot to start looking for timber fish. And I think about that every lake I go to. If it's got timber in it, I'm scanning, looking for that bigger canopy tree that looks like an oak or something. Maybe it's a poplar or something like that, but something besides like a pine.
That's what I was getting ready to ask you. So you're looking for the wide branches.
Yep.
Something like that. That makes sense. But now we'll go into what you said. So when you say you're looking for that different tree, just almost kind of like a bigger rock on a point, just something that stands out just a little bit different to give maybe something a little bit more attractive. You can find that with a tree standing maybe 10 foot taller than the rest, or a little bit bigger canopy than the rest. That's kind of what you're saying, Tony.
Yeah. I mean, think about, you pull into an area and it's got one dock. Fish might be on that one dock. It's the one thing that's different. Same thing with that tree. You got 50 pine trees in there, but you got one oak tree. It's something different. It's just fishing something different.
Yeah, we figured out that one dock thing a little bit too late up at Blue Ridge.
Too late.
Listen, Will, how often you fish Blue Ridge?
Here and there, I fish it a little bit.
Listen, that lake ticked us off. we could not figure it out until it was late. What's that, Dave?
Those are the dumbest fish.
They weren't.
They bite so good up there. I'm going back. I'm going back.
No, we couldn't get them to bite like that. But Tony did figure it out when we kind of went up the river a little bit. We were seeing a bunch of bait. The fish weren't kind of reacting like they normally would, but until we found that one dock. Remember, it was kind of over near that one dock sitting by itself, and that was just that one little trigger or that one little spot that was just different than everything else.
No.
So, it does work. Now, Dave, I know the answer to this, but just for Tony, what hook do you use on the chicken rig?
A VMC Finesse Nico and a 2-aught.
Yeah. And the thing about that chicken rig is it's got that little bobber stop like thing and 2 pieces of probably monofilament or fluoro that just kind of stick out, that when you run your hook through the worm and you're pulling back the line side, it digs into that worm and holds it. Mm-hmm. Kind of right where, and I meant to ask you this question too. Say on a mag, not a mag, but on a trick worm. So we're using a Zoom trick worm. How much of the tail are you letting bend? When we call it bent worm, like old Driscoll calls it or whatever, how much, or how far up the worm are you hooking that to where you get 2 inches, 3 inches of the tail bent over? A couple of inches?
Yeah, about that much.
Well, don't do that to me, because I've been lying to my wife for 30 years. I mean, what is that much? Will's shaking his head like I knew Danny was going to say it sooner or later.
It's only a 6.5 inch, 6 1/4, 6.5 inch worm. So 2 inches maybe.
Okay.
Total.
Fair enough.
Will, kind of hangover.
Do you dip yours? Do you dip your tail? Will, do you do any tail dipping or anything like that?
I
Chartreuse,
don't
anything?
a lot. Like during fluke season, I'll paint up a fluke a little bit, but not really worms and stuff like that.
Do you think we overthink that? Because I know a lot of guys are dipping year round. Chartreuse on the tails during the wintertime, they'll hit the orange. Are we overthinking it?
The fishermen overthink 99% of everything.
They
I
do.
mean, if the tackle market crashed and we were left with 2% of the tackle, that's still more than you'll ever need. So
I agree.
yes, we overthink a bunch.
I
I
think
agree.
one thing I do think, and I noticed it this summer, especially at Guntersville, because we have a heavy brim population. When you're fishing around brim beds, I think it does make a difference. When you put a little chartreuse, because all our little brim, when you see them swimming around, especially around my dock down there, you probably saw some of y'all were up there.
Mhm.
All their fins, their tails are that bright chartreuse. So when you put that on there, whether you're swimming a worm or a crawl or something through there, I've seen it this summer where it does make a difference, especially if you're around a heavy concentration of brim.
Yeah, and I'm glad you said that because I think it was Tyler Shellnut that up in the comment section earlier talked about using more brim colored baits on Lanier. We had that. We had somebody. I know farmers talked about it, but somebody else talked about it too. Look, those brim, just because that spot's sitting out there in 45 foot of water, a lot of guys have caught it where they have spit up brim coming from that deep. So a spot's going to eat whatever's around him whenever he can. So yeah, don't discount brim colored baits on a Highland Reservoir. They do work. Now, Will, do you throw a Carolina rig?
No, I hate a Carolina.
If he won't throw a jig, he ain't throwing a rig.
Dave, that is 100% what crossed my mind when I saw that. I'm like, there is no way he's going to throw a Carolina rig after not throwing a jig. But Tony, do you throw a Carolina rig?
I will, but it's not one of my favorite things to throw. But I know it gets bit, but I will throw one.
Oh my gosh, it's like an insurance seminar. It's so boring. But now, Dave, you throw it from time to time, and let me see if I get this right. I'm gonna make sure. On your Carolina rig, you're either throwing a watermelon red lizard or you're throwing a baby brush hog junior. Am I right?
Nope.
Ah.
Baby brush hog, watermelon red. The tips. I do dye that chartreuse, or I throw the viber crawl.
On a Carolina rig.
Yeah, and that's usually out of like on a shell bar or something. You know, we've gone through there with a big flutter spoon and crankbait and knocked them in the head and they quit biting. Pick something up like that. I know it works really good on some of the other river chains. I think Reese was talking about it, like Kentucky, catch a smallmouth. They really like it up there. But yeah, we do throw it up. I have it on all summer pretty much.
But I knew it was brush hog junior though.
Yeah, it's always for me. It's always brush hog.
You ever throw any of those, Will? Like he loves
do.
brush hog junior. You do?
I don't throw it much. I've got an old bag in the boat I'll keep just for keepsake, but no, I don't throw it much.
You don't throw
Carolina
much?
rig,
Now-
Coosa River.
Now I will say this: Wedowie's a damn good Carolina rig lake, and
Look,
I've talked to two guys this week that said don't sleep on it on Lanier either.
Yep, that's how I started catching them on Lanier when I got here. Was
Carolina
I didn't
rig?
know what else to do.
Didn't Cifuentes when he came up for the
Caught
that
them on
no-
a Carolina rig.
he caught him on a Carolina rig.
Yes,
now
sir,
that
he
was
did.
during the spawn.
Mm-hmm.
He was pulling it, and I know a lot of guys talk about on Allatoona during that same time frame. If you can get a flat,
Mm-hmm.
they'll throw that Carolina rig, but they're throwing a watermelon red 4-inch zoom lizard behind it.
Yeah.
Yep.
So okay, makes sense. Let's see. Oh, Pontoon Jody, stranger danger. Long time no see, my friend. What's up, Danny and panel and chat? Happy holidays. Happy holidays to you as well, Pontoon Jody. And of course, all of you guys out there. Remember the reason for the season. Okay, it's not about presents. Think about why we actually celebrate Christmas. I know I'm a heathen, but I know what it's about. How about this? Greg says big oak trees on Hartwell are good, especially on cloudy days. Now, Will, I want you to break that comment down when he says especially on cloudy days. Why do you think he's saying that?
You must get hung up on the bank a bunch because I don't know how you can really tell oak trees, pine trees, poplar, whatever in the water. I'm looking for the bigger one, so I don't care what kind it is. But so I don't really know how to answer that question. But yes, the deeper timber on Hartwell, you find a single piece out there or a bigger piece. those can be really good. If you're talking about shade lines can be really good. You know, you have an oak canopy over the water. So yes, in both circumstances, that can be good.
Okay.
Maybe the bait staying down on those cloudy days, like that low light. A lot of times that bait's down. Maybe that bait doesn't come up all the way through it.
It could be anything, I guess.
Well, you know, pine trees are typically straight with a few branches off of them, whatever, like old pine, you know, old timber pine trees. The oaks tend to hold their canopy a little better underwater. So when you see one, whether it be on 2D, side scan, whatever, you'll see a bigger canopy under the water. Think about your brush piles. You get those big brush piles, the bait tends to, you know, go to those big brush piles. They get more places to hide, things like that. I think that's maybe a reason why. And that's how I notice a different tree. If I'm scanning, I'm looking for that canopy, because a pine tree doesn't typically have a canopy like an oak tree does.
Yeah, that makes sense. And you know, you talked about Underwood, and I'm sure Will can do this too. Underwood can look at it. When I was with him, he looked at some blips on certain trees, and he goes, "That's a catfish."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "We're talking about figuring out what kind of tree it is because that's a cat." And I'm like, "How do you know?" He goes, "It's just the way it's sitting."
Yep.
And he goes, "I'll prove it to you." And he dropped an underspin down, and I watched it go down right there to it. And then boom, he hooked up. He brought up. It was like a 5-pound channel cat.
Yep.
And I'm like, "Dude, how did you figure that out?" He goes, "It's the way they sit on the branches. You know, the bass are not sitting stationary on a branch." He goes, "A big old catfish will lay up on a branch just like it will, you know, on the bottom." And I thought I was like, "Damn, that's for somebody like me." I thought that was pretty damn neat. Tony, congrats on the big bags. Listen, we're gonna give him a big head. We gotta bring him back down to earth. I'm playing. Listen. I watched it. I thought you were gonna win it, dude. I really did. I did. Gosh. But listen, you got beat by two pretty damn good teams. I mean, you know, Emil and Tim, and then Parker and I forget his partner's name, but like they're on Lanier like all the time. So, you know, if you're gonna get beat, you got beat by an elite. And
listen, when we put that bag on there, all I could do, I looked at the guy and I said, I had no idea we had that. I'm telling you, we left 30 minutes. We left our last spot. We had 30 minutes to get back to the boat ramp. He was like, "Well, do you think we can hit one more spot on the way back?" I said, "Man, you've got a fish in here that can possibly win big fish. We're not going to get anything but big fish. Go back to the ramp. Don't take a chance on anything," because we had a long ride back. And I had no clue, zero clue, because we didn't weigh anything. We weighed one time during the tournament, and it was because we had two fish that were so close that we literally culled by ounces. So,
is that the biggest bag you've ever had in a tournament?
Yes.
Will, what's the biggest bag you've ever had in a tournament?
Oh, that's a great question. I think 25 something. I honestly don't know the exact. No, not on Lanier. Lanier, 22.8 or something like that.
Where did the 25-pound bag come from?
I think that was Gunnersville. I don't. I had a Gunnersville, a Saginaw, and a St. John's, all right in that range. I couldn't tell you which was which.
Dave, what about you?
No, 23, 24, somewhere in there.
Listen, all you guys, y'all all suck. Steve Billington says, "I can't even tell the trees on the land, man." Listen, I'm right there with you. I get what he's saying. I get that it looks different, like we said, the rock or something like that. 100%. Now, Will, here's a question for me. What are some of the mistakes that guys make, whether it be Chateau, Lanier, whatever, going out in the wintertime? Give me some of the things that you think they're wasting their time trying. I mean, I know you can catch fish on anything at any given time, but just maybe something that you see some guys throwing it and you're like, there's a lot better options.
Yeah, the biggest mistake is doing the same thing in the same places every day you go out there. Unless it's a tournament, I rarely, even on Chattooga, small as it is, I'm fishing new stuff every chance I can. So you've always got to be trying new stuff, new places, things like that. So break the monotony is the best answer to that question. Number two, think like a spotted bass in a way. You know, these spots, they want to feed on herring, your deeper fish typically. Your shallow fish, they want to fish, they want to stay warm and eat bluegill and crawfish. So where do bluegill and crawfish stay? Rocks and docks. So just trying to find a little more of the off the wall stuff and breaking the monotony up. Don't go do the same thing every day you're out there.
Okay, that's good advice. Now, Greg says large canopy oak trees out in deep water, they have huge bait balls at the base on the bottom. So I guess like you were saying something, Dave, didn't you say something like that? The bait, because we mentioned the bait staying down but being around the tree or kind of hiding up. One of you guys said something like that. Now Steve Billington, you kayak guys, his biggest bag was 99 inches. Again, don't know what that equates to as far as weight, but I think 100-inch. Tony, haven't we established that they break 100-inch? That's a big one right there. Ken wants to know, what's your favorite jerkbait rod?
So I use a 610 medium. If it's a real windy day though, which is when I like throwing a jerkbait, I'll throw it on a spinning rod. Once again, that 7.1 medium. So I'm a big spinning rod jerkbait fan. You can bomb it in the wind a lot better than dealing with bird's nest with a bait caster. But if it's a slick day or I'm on a largemouth lake, typically I've got it on a 610 medium bait caster.
What brand are you throwing?
Purely Arc. So every
Arc.
rod I'll ever throw is Arc. Yeah.
Okay, I thought that. What about you, Dave? What's your favorite jerkbait rod? I think I know the brand.
Yeah, you know the brand. It's Falcon. I either throw it on they have one called a weightless worm rod. It's a 6.7. It's all tip. I'm not a real tall guy, 5'10" on a good day. Or I throw it on a 6.8. It's actually a Jason Christie. It was a spinnerbait rod he made, but it's medium heavy. But they're both medium heavies. The weightless worm rod works better, I find, on spots because they dig so bad. And that rod's got so much bend in it. It's basically a medium. But you don't hardly lose them on that rod. That's when I come to Lanier, that jerkbait's on that rod.
All right, Tony.
It's a 7-foot medium action Falcon HD from Walmart, and it's got a lot of bend to it, and it's 8-pound line, drag set right, and you can fight just about any fish with it. My PB was not on that particular rod, but it's always a medium. But yeah, it's 7-pounder on 8-pound line, medium rod.
Yeah, I think that Spro McStick that I got, that's a medium too.
Yeah.
Something like that. Congratulations to Clayton right there, because Toys for Tots, that was his first tournament ever as a boater.
That's awesome.
And that's a big thing, jumping from co-angler to being a boater. And it was good to see you there, dude. And so I appreciate you coming out and supporting the cause. Will, do you remember the first time you were ever a boater?
I do. It was a BFL on Lanier, and absolutely bombed it. So it was, it's a great graduation point, and 15-12 is solid. That's what it's all about. Just get out there and fish. Don't worry about all these guys bringing in all these 20 bags and, worrying about losing your money and whatever. Just go out there and fish and try it. You never know where it's going to lead. So that's awesome that was your first time.
Yeah, he was really excited about it, and I was excited to see him there. Not. How about Dave? Do you remember the first time you were an actual boater in a tournament? I know you're old. You got to think back a little ways.
No, we did team tournaments for the longest. I was a boater. I think it was actually at Sam Rayburn, and I finished 1 ounce out of the money. Everybody in the house cashed a check. The other co-angler that was with us won it, and I was 1 ounce out of the money with, I don't know, 18 or 19 pounds. So that was a long time ago.
Oh, I know it was a long time ago.
It was cool. It was a cool tournament though, because they had an open over there. That's when they used to go to like Amistad, and the elites went down there, and they had an open. And I pulled up to my first spot, and boat rolls in, and very nice guy. Eased up there, never got on trolling motor, idled up kind of close to me. He said, "Hey, you mind if I start on the other end and work that way, work your way back to?" I said, "No, that's fine. Go ahead." And I never turned around. I didn't pay attention to who it was. And my partner was that I drew that day. He goes, "You know who you're talking to?" I'm like, I kind of look back in. I'm like, "No, that's Shaw Grigsby." So I said, "Well, we must be in a pretty good spot."
That's exactly right.
We shared water with him and Kelly Jordan and a bunch of them that day. So it was kind of cool to see those guys there.
Very cool. Tony, how about you?
It was probably 2022. Yeah. First time. It was I just bought the boat, and I swore I was not going to fish tournaments, and then I got into them. It was at Wedowee, the Wedowee Marine South Winter Trail they have out there, and yeah, that was a fun learning experience. Didn't catch much, but it was fun.
I bet it was. Now, Will, speaking of, Dave's situation in the professional ranks, have you ever had that situation where you and another competitor have had to share water? And if you did, was it cordial, or have you ever had any run-ins, so to speak, where you kind of had to like negotiate what was going on?
Yeah, I'm gonna give a quick timeout, really quick. My wife came in from being done with the deer, so quick shout out to her. Say hey.
Hey, how are you? Listen, I think what you're doing is awesome.
That's awesome.
Absolutely fantastic. Congratulations on the deer. Do you need to go help her for a second?
No,
it's
it's
good.
done.
Awesome.
So my job's easy.
There you go, dude. I'm telling you, you did well for yourself. That is very
Yeah.
awesome.
If she has a sister, she might get a bunch of instant messages tomorrow.
Absolutely. So
Yeah.
that situation handled cordially, little dust up. You ever had that?
Yes, on both sides of it. 99% of the encounters you're going to have. I mean, on the pro series, you're running into guys all the time. If you think you got something to yourself, you don't. So, I mean, you've got to handle it with a little bit of respect. And, 9 times out of 10, I let guys have stuff. I don't like fishing right next to somebody. If it's a buddy or something and we've got a school of fish, that's different. But typically I like leaving guys alone. But on the off occasion, I think only 1 or 2 times it's ever gotten kind of testy, I guess. And it's with guys that that's how it's going to end up, is being testy. So you kind of just got to have thick skin around some of it and fish your own thing.
Yeah. So without dropping names, of course, you just kind of mentioned something. Do you know the guys like going in? You know the guys in the trails you fish, and their reputation just precedes them.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. You could name about on the trail of 124 guys we had last year in MPFL. Everyone could name like the same 6 guys probably that you knew was going to probably have something happen during the tournament week. That's just how it is, though.
I'll ask this question: are they known like hole buzzards? Like they're looking to see where guys catch them at? You don't have to say anything. If you
Don't drop no names, but just give us some little insights, man.
No, I mean it can range from that. I mean, you had those situations. You heard about that every tournament from somebody. Yeah. Just it's amazing what comes up in a tournament at that level with guys who are supposed to be at that level, and the amount of respect or lack thereof definitely is surprising. But I mean, like I said, it's guys who people know about.
So, again, we're not dropping names. Going into tournaments, knowing those guys, do you kind of see guys steering away from them? Like even before the tournament, you guys have your work day, or at least with the MPFL, you had your community day, your pre-practice, things like that. With guys knowing that, do they kind of just almost, I don't want to say use the word shun or ostracize, but you know what I'm saying? Kind of like that. You kind of know, so you just kind of steer away from them.
I do, and it depends who you ask. Fishing at this level is extremely cliquish. Like people have their little groups, and I mean, them when you pull up to the boat ramp, who's in those little groups. So I mean, it's in a way, yes, normal people with some head on their shoulders avoid certain people, but otherwise, I mean, what kind of group they're part of. And so at those levels, everyone's kind of got their own little group, I guess.
Yeah, that's kind of interesting because it sounds like a locker room. Or, even at that level, you guys know what I'm saying, like the cliques and all that. So kind of what you're saying is those guys run with the same crowd.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah.
And this kind of goes into something Clint's guest, and I apologize, I don't remember his name last Thursday. Alpha Angler, I guess the owner of Alpha Angler was on there talking. He made a good of what I got to watch. He's like, don't pull up short. And it goes to talk about some of that sharing water type thing. Basically, if you're going to go fish a spot, don't pull up 60 yards short. Pull up to where you're going to fish, because I've had it happen to me, and it was one of those things when he said it, I was like, well, that makes a lot of sense. I've had guys literally pull up right next to me. I could see the brand of cigarette they were smoking. I could step over in their boat almost because they saw me pass them. I went to a point and they wanted to fish the opposite point. I mean, in the same ditch we were fishing, and I was like, that's kind of rude, But I mean, don't pull up short. That's something he brought up in that episode.
Okay, that's a good thing. Now, Greg, you're showing your age right here, buddy. My first boater tourney as a boater was 1973. That's things you don't forget. And I can't believe you ain't forgot it because I was born in 72. So, you got to be out there. But that's still, like you said, 1973. It's a memory, and I'm just joking around with you, but it is a memory. Like, were you nervous, Will, that BFL? Because you said you bombed it. Do you think nerves had something to do with that? Just because, like, I'm a boater now. I'm one of the guys.
Yeah, for sure. And nerves still, I mean, at any level, they still get to you. Like the first MPFL event I fished on Pickwick, you should have seen me. I fished both dams in one day, and that's 55 miles apart, and that's not knowing a thing. That's just going down there on a whim, just stressing out. So you're going to have that, the more times you're in that situation, you become a lot cooler and can make some better decisions. But yeah, you still get the nerves for sure.
Did I get nervous on like the Toys for Tots tournament? I can't imagine being a boater in a professional tournament.
Well, I think everybody has that moment when you just spin out and there's nothing going right. I had one. I had a top 6 like that. I had one day of practice on Hartwell. I practiced 80% of Hartwell. When I got off the water, the guy's like, "What'd you learn today?" I'm like, "Nothing, nothing."
You're just going all over the place.
I was catching herring spawn fish, sight fish, post spawn fish, pre spawn. I learned absolutely nothing. And one thing I will say that's helped me coming because I'm not from here. I'm one of them crazy people from Louisiana.
Yes,
as Danny likes to say. I can cook. I can cook.
You damn sure can cook. I'll give you that.
I'll tell you one of the biggest things that's helped me and to slow down and not get so spun out was learning to top water fish on Lanier. Because I've had days, won tournaments, had nothing in the boat at 1:30, and just stick. And all of a sudden, you roll up to the right pile and catch 3, roll up to the next one, catch 1, roll to the next one, catch 1. You got 15, 16, 17 pounds, and you're right back in it. That I'm gonna tell you that has helped me more probably than anything else. Graphs, boats, tackle. Was learning that part of it. It just stay what you're doing if you believe in it and keep running enough places. Like I said, that slowed me down a ton because I would spin out in a heartbeat.
Yeah, and that leads to a good question, Will. When you start to spin out, do you got any, little sayings in your head or any little, strategy to keep yourself from spinning out?
Yeah, they say fishermen become the best praying people when it comes around to 1 o'clock.
Right.
Nothing. So that's definitely something to do. Yeah. But no, when you spin out, it's so easy to sit here and tell you exactly what to do. But when you're in that situation, there's no really prepping for it, I guess. Just try to keep a level head. Stay with what you know. Like for example, the most recent one was the championship on Hartwell we had. For MPFL. I mean, each day I didn't weigh in a fish that I caught before about 1 o'clock. And that's Hartwell, a place I should know. And that's for a lot of money and very few guys there. So that was a potential spin out place. And you just got to stay with the program. Depending where you're at, if you're around here, I would say you don't have to change it as much. If you're sold on those ditch fish, keep rotating, stay with the program. If you're, other places over the lakes, it may be switching it up, going from offshore to the bank or to the bank offshore. You want to make some changes, but very few times does making major changes actually help you.
Right. And is that kind of what you were saying, Dave? Like going from one extreme to the other when you held your hands up like that?
Like I said, I think I put 48 gallons of gas in my range in that 520 after practice on Hartwell. That's how much gas I burned. And like I said, when I got done, I didn't know anything.
Right.
Will, how many times have you had times where you get done with the tournament and hey, you finished okay, you miss a couple places out of the cut? Have you had those tournaments that just kind of haunt you because you felt like you left something on the table?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. I don't care what level that you're at. That is absolutely, and the thing we struggle with most is that managing fish, because you don't know after day one in the dock talk,
Right.
should you catch 15 pounds and let off the gas a little bit and go look? Should you catch 25 and then go look? So that's stuff that you never really know until after the fact. And so typically day ones are my worst days, just because of you're kind of in that touchy feel situation. You want to check everything, trying to figure out what the deal is. Because in practice, you never want to stick a bunch of fish. So it's day ones are usually my worst ones for that reason. It just depends on the day, I reckon. But
Okay, that's a good question. Now, this is a good one too. Something I didn't even consider. In the dual threat, are you guys allowed to run two boats in practice, or do you have to be on the same boat?
So that is still being discussed right now. Originally, you could run two boats in practice, but I think there is talks to change that right now. So that is still one of the things they're working out.
So, have they dropped the complete schedule yet? They haven't even done that yet, have they?
Yes, sir. Yeah, they have.
What is the
Yep.
schedule again on the dual threats?
We have Okeechobee and St. Johns River back to back in January. Then we go to Eufaula, Oklahoma. And then I think it's Watts Bar. And then the Mississippi River's on there. There's one other one I missed. Gunnersville is on there too.
Did you say you followed Oklahoma for both the opens and for the dual threat?
Yes, sir. The MLF and the dual threat. Yeah.
Okay, there you go. You fished that before with the NPFL. They go there, right?
Yeah. That was the first time I'd been there was when we tied with Luis Fernandez on Eufaula. Lost that tiebreaker, but I like the lake. It's been good every time. I've only been twice. Both times it's been good. It's just a place I got along with, I guess.
Right. That's what I was sitting there thinking in the back of my head. I was like, I think he had some success at that. Of all the lakes that you're going to fish next year, opens dual threat, which one are you looking forward to the most, and which one are you looking forward to the least?
Most, I like a Santee Cooper and a St. Johns River. Those are both kind of hero or zero events. I've got some history on both of them. You catch really big fish on both. I guess that's part of the draw and the fun of it. As far as the least favorite, probably the Mississippi River's got to be on that list, and probably the Harris Chain. Been to both of those, but never really done great at either. But one thing I've kind of learned, no matter where you fish your strengths. Fish like you fish around here, because that's what I struggle with the year one is kind of, you want to fish how the locals are fishing, and that doesn't match up to what you feel comfortable doing, and it can burn you really quick.
Okay, that makes sense. No,
Yeah,
can't.
Seth Fighter brought that up.
Yes.
Fishing what everybody else is doing instead of just fishing your way.
Mm-hmm. You're right. He did. No, Ken said, first tournament ever, we set the alarm for 6 p.m. instead of 6 a.m. And that's when I realized I like fishing at night. That's one of the reasons I can't sleep the night before a tournament. It's not so much being worried about the tournament. I am so terrified of oversleeping, missing. If I'm late for anything, I'm not showing up.
Yeah.
I'm just not. And I mean, and I know you're a church going guy. I go to, but like if it's 11:05, like I don't like walking in. You know what I'm saying? It's like that's just one of my things. But Danny Hogshead wants to know what's up with the walleyes that you caught out of Chattooga.
Yeah, so walleyes are kind of on the comeback if you know where to look. We've caught several of them, which is kind of surprising. Used to Chattooga, Blue Ridge, Nolly, all these lakes were chock full of walleye. And then they disappeared. The spots got introduced, the bluebacks. But the last couple of years on Chattooga, we've actually been catching quite a few walleye out there.
What about the smallmouth? I know there's still a few in there.
Man, there's so few anymore. The last one I saw caught was probably 2 years ago.
Really?
Yeah, you don't see them. Is there one in there? Maybe. I don't know. Notley is the same way. You get some mean mouse in there, some mixes of smallmouth. But I don't know if there's just a pure strain smallmouth anymore. Blue Ridge, you still see a few of them,
Yeah.
but that's another lake where you used to see a ton, and now it's dwindling.
And that's a shame too. And I guess that's a spot thing. That's one of the drawbacks to a spotted bass. We love to catch them. They're great, fun to catch and all that, but when you have a smallmouth fishery, they can absolutely just destroy it.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, absolutely.
All right. So listen, we're getting on up in time a little bit. So Tony, Dave, you got any other questions for Will? I know he's, his wife might want some help with that deer getting it in and all that. So I want to definitely allow him a few minutes to go help her clean up or whatever. You got any other questions?
I don't have anything.
What about you, Dave?
I don't think I do.
Okay, well, Will, we're going to let you out a little bit early, bud. So first of all, I appreciate you joining us. And again, when you were at the NPFL, I was always, especially when you were in the running and all that, I loved watching you when you actually got a camera and all that. And I don't think that's going to change going over to the MLF Pro Circuit. We'll still be rooting for you here. You've always been a great friend of the show, and you help out all our viewers every time you come up here. You always have some great answers and all that. So I just want to personally thank you very much. You are a fine, upstanding young man, and I'm not blowing smoke up your butt. You are the real deal with us, and you haven't changed, in the few years that we've gotten to know you. So thank you for taking some time to come on and help out our viewers. And again, best of luck, in your endeavors, and hopefully you'll go wherever you want to go as far as you want to go with that.
Oh, yeah. One step at a time, for sure.
One step at a time. So definitely appreciate that. And of course, Tony, Dave, thanks for jumping on here with us tonight. And all you guys in the viewer section, the comments, you make my job so much easier when you guys are asking really good questions. Tony can tell you now, after doing some shows, it makes our life a lot easier.
Oh, yeah.
When you guys are throwing the questions out. So with that, we're going to let you go, Will. Appreciate it. Guys, tomorrow I'll have a lunch break at 12 o'clock, and then we will have another Live Well Thursday night. And who knows what I'll wake up and going to talk about tomorrow at lunch. So you guys just got to join us. And but again, Will, thank you very much. And everybody, I'm going to let everybody go tonight. So we appreciate you guys. And again, Will, go kick some butt in the MLF. All right.
Oh, I appreciate it. One last thing before we go really quick.
Absolutely.
We are doing kind of some Christmas giveaways lately for families and kids in need of presents. So if you guys know anyone in the North Georgia area, I'll ship them too. I don't care. But if you guys need a present, can't afford one, or know a family who can't afford fishing rods, reels, tackles, let one of the guys know, get with me, and we'll get you a present for Christmas.
Dude, we should have started the show off with that one.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's good. Let's look again. It's just another example of the kind of person you are. So absolutely. If any guy, like he said, if any of you guys know somebody, reach out to me. I'll get in touch with Will. We'll coordinate that. And again, just like Toys for Tots, just put a smile on somebody's face that might not have some for Christmas. So I think that's absolutely outstanding, Will. So appreciate you throwing that out there. So guys, make it happen. Let me know some people. Tony, Dave, reach out to any of those. We'll figure out how to make it work. So that's a great way to end the show. So again, Will, Merry Christmas to you and yours. Happy holidays and all that. And we'll catch you on the other side of the year watching you catch some fish and all that.
I appreciate it, guys.